It's Nick from Break the Clutch. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. And it's just to pull the curtain back just a little bit. Today is Sunday that I am recording this. Irma is kind of looming over where I'm at right now. Still got power, still doing it, so the content doesn't stop until the power goes out. So in today's gameplay, I've got Colony, and to get you guys a little more interactive with the videos, in the comment section, let me know what you guys want to see in the next video, and I will take out a comment, and I'll put it in the next video. I'll feature the comment, and that way you guys can start to see that we are responding and listening to comments. So in this one in particular, we've got Theron Rude, who said that he wants to see a Colony gameplay, and you know, that's what we'll do. We'll give them the Colony gameplay. Why not? I'm not too familiar with Colony, although I do find Colony to be one of the best leaders in the game. It's just not a leader I've ever picked up on and tried to fine-tune my skills with. So this gameplay is probably going to be a little shaky. We open up with a few choppers here and there. I didn't want to go Chopper Engineer because even though Chopper Engineer was one of my favorite plays back in the day, I wanted to try something a little different. I didn't want to invest my resources in engineers since I had Swarm with Colony, and typically when I did the Chopper Engineer rush back in the day, I would use Decimus. So with Colony, I can go ahead and use Engineer Swarm, right? I don't need to necessarily invest so much into the engineers as a separate unit. I can go ahead and focus on producing a little bit more units, or in fact I can go ahead and get early upgrades on my base, get a couple turrets up in them, and just in case they try to counter rush us. So again, with Colony, I'm not too worried about going engineers. Obviously there is the benefit of going engineers separately and getting the shield on it. That means that you'll take 40% less damage for units when that shield's up around the engineers. So there are benefits to both, but in this one I just decided let's just avoid the engineers and use the Swarm instead. Now, as you guys saw in, I think, what was it, the gameplay I posted yesterday on Saturday, there were a lot of errors in my gameplay, and I think I kind of do a little bit better on this one. This would be my second game in probably a week, so you know, we're starting to get a little bit more of the micro macroing going again. There are a few errors that I'm going to definitely point out in this gameplay, and if you guys do see any, please let the comments know, because people do watch these videos to try and help their own gameplay. So if you see something that I don't, or you see a comment in the comment section asking a question, feel free to answer them, because we are always trying to improve everyone's gameplay around, and including my own. So that would be greatly appreciated. Now in this one, I think I'll end up with about 6-7 choppers, and they get super aggressive in the center of the map, which makes sense. When you're playing this map, you have two options. You either take the teleporter and then you try to bum rush them from the left or the right, or you barrel right down the middle and you pick up the power nodes on your way, and you kind of create a blockade with your units, and it prevents them from getting the power nodes behind you, the enemy player from getting the power nodes behind you. In most matches, the game is won and lost in the center of the map, right at that center power node. And typically the last chance you have to recover is the last power node on your side of the map. If that power node gets taken over, you've almost certainly lost the game. Now there are situations where you can get some flanks going, and then you can try to take a couple power nodes here and there by using the teleporters, and maybe you get a sneak attack going with that. But typically, if you lose the power node control in the center, you're in trouble. If you lose the one on your side, then you are in a very, very bad spot. So on this map, make sure you utilize the teleporters, and make sure that you stack your units in the center if you choose to try to barrel through and get as many power nodes as you can. I prefer the power going right down the center. You can pretty much pick up as many power nodes as you possibly can. You can pick up, I believe, 4, and just by moving down the center. So again, that's probably the best way to address this map, especially if you plan on playing into the mid to late game. So again, those power nodes are super important, and I think the best way to go about this map specifically is to barrel down the middle. Now you'll see we had the engagement in the middle. We finally won that one, and the reason we won that engagement was because one of the enemy players was flanking on the right with Johnson. He had a few Marines in there, and again, he probably took the teleporter route that I was just discussing, and it's not going to pan out well for him. He was too slow on that counter. Perhaps that counter may have worked in that if that center engagement, or if he would have teleported during that center engagement. So for instance, the enemy's players obviously had 2 of them, we had 3. If During that engagement, Johnson flanked and he started attacking the side base, maybe towards the beginning of that engagement. Then perhaps one of our players would have panicked and backed up, and then it would have been a 2-on-2, and then the game's a little more even there, and then it just depends on how you use your power or your leader abilities, or how closely did you pick up an expo and you're starting to pump units out of there. So you can see how that could have been a very different situation had Johnson pushed up a little bit quicker with that on the right side, and then we'll eventually all push back and make a big engagement. Now this play right here, I should preface, you'll see in a second that my controller disconnects, and that's because at this moment I'm using my SCUF controller and it has trigger stops on it. And if any of you guys are unfamiliar with trigger stops, it's for FPS games. It's so you don't have to use your right trigger and you don't have to pull it all the way down. It stops about halfway. But you'll see I can't actually select individual units because of the controller I'm using, and I didn't even realize that. So earlier in the engagement I was telling my choppers to do one thing and I was trying to tell my grunts to do another thing. But in fact they weren't. They were all just moving together because of the trigger stops. So you'll see in a second I'm going to disconnect my controller and then and get a different controller out, so that way I can actually specifically individually click units, which obviously is a must in this game. And you'll see right there, that's the part where I noticed that I had all units clicking the or I wasn't clicking individual units, because I tried to have my choppers specifically attack the Warthog, and then they ended up just one at a time, very slowly moving forward, attacking, because the grunts were also in that mix. So again, just be careful with that. Obviously most of you guys probably don't have the trigger stops on your controller, but specifically clicking your individual units will be a big help, especially when dealing with a Forge Hog. They die very quickly. If you get a good amount of rams on them, I think it's like 5 or 6, and that Forge Hog will definitely drop. So little tidbit there in case some of you guys are still dealing with the Forge Hog rush, which I haven't seen too often lately. It's been about one person's running it on a team nowadays, and I'm fine with that. As long as I'm not seeing 2 or 3 of them, then we can, we can let that be. It was getting a little bit annoying with 3 of them, but one's fine. So, and you'll see I also pick up an expo on this side. I should have done it probably a minute and a half sooner once we stopped Johnson, or once we started attacking Johnson on our back right. I should have sent one chopper over. Again, I couldn't send individual units, but theoretically or hypothetically I should have just pulled one back and then had him pick it up a minute and a half quicker. That means that right about now it would have been up, or about a minute ago it would have been up, and I would be producing units out of it now. So again, keep that in mind. Get your expos as quickly as you possibly can, especially when you get a little bit of an advantage. It's risky to expo on the opposite side of the map. Of course, sometimes it'll pay off. I chose to just expo on this side right here, and the point that we're making in this gameplay is that we're trying to take out the enemy expo. This is where the game kind of breaks down, right? I talked a little bit earlier about once you get that center, you have a good chance of winning the game, and then once you push them back into their last power node, that's where you can really decide a game and win it there. Instead of going for that power node, which we should have at this moment, we should have just sent one unit over. We're trying to take out this expo, because at this point, if we take out one person's expo, or if we take that center power or that power node on their side, the game's over. So we're focusing heavily on this. I'm going to produce a bunch of locusts. I'm going to produce hunters and rangers, the same combo that I always preach that I think is the best combo. And you'll see right here, the teleport, when you're using or when you're maneuvering your units around this teleporter, for whatever reason you don't have to click the teleporter, but if they just walk around it, then sometimes they'll get teleported over, and I do a poor job of paying attention to that, and I get quite frustrated with it in this game, because you'll see there's good portions of my army that just get teleported out, and then I'm not even aware of it. I'm sitting here building units and stuff, and then they're sitting on the other side of the map. Another thing that I should have done in this gameplay is actually utilize that teleporter, right? I've got the base right there, so I should be putting my units straight through that teleporter so they can come over here and quickly engage with me. For some reason, I just didn't want to do that. I acknowledged it partway through the game that I just need to I should teleport my units. I think I didn't want to focus on the macroing part of it, which is obviously a mistake. This gameplay probably could have been much better had we just started teleporting units across the map, especially given that I have the base right there. So there's no excuses on why I'm not doing it. I just, for whatever reason, chose I didn't want to do it, and I'm getting lazy with the all units button. So again, make sure you utilize what the map has to give you. It didn't cost us in this gameplay, but it is something that obviously should be improved upon. And I actually think this is one of my favorite parts of Halo Wars 2. These epic mid-game battles. Now, I don't like playing the late game, as many of you guys have seen in our previous videos, but I do like playing the mid-game. I think the mid-game is extremely fun to play when you've got a good amount of units out and it's not campy yet. Right now, we've got the Arbiter on our team. He stasis those guys. I couldn't recall in the gameplay if I could use Hunter's Brand while they were stasis, but then I thought about it for a second and I was like, I think they don't take damage while they are in stasis mode. So luckily I called back my Hunter's Brand on that one, and then finally clicked on the Hunter's Brand once they got out of stasis and was able to do a significant amount of damage there. And now the beauty of the Locust. I absolutely love Locust. They have great range. Probably too good of range if we're being honest, because they can really snipe some bases. And you'll see we finally are able to topple that building, and then an enemy player will have disconnected, and then now we're just fighting out the 2-on-3. And I've stressed this in the past, you have to be careful with 2-on-3s because you can still lose them. You just can't overcommit, right? If we would have lost all our armies in this spot, then they could have rallied and they could have probably taken a base or two, and then then the game's up in air for a little bit of time. So we just got to make sure that we are not overcommitting here. They've got decent sized armies. One of them's running a Mantis army, so I mean, it's not too devastating with the Mantis army, at least not that I'm aware of. I don't think Mantises are that great, but we do still have to be careful, and we still have to respect the fact that these guys can make a rally at any point. But luckily for us, we did a very nice job of closing this rush down. So I think that's going to do it. I'll let the rest of the video play out. Feel free to watch it. It's got a couple good battles in there, so I don't really want to cut out what you see, but there's also not too much commentary left to give on that particular part, just because it's just a 2-on-3. We're building units and we're just trying to slowly cut down their production, and then once we take out a few more units, we'll be able to steamroll through at one base, and then it's just it's the domino effect in that matter. So I'm gonna leave the rest of the gameplay up there. Feel free to watch it. And thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. Again, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys want to see in my next video, and I will grab a comment from there and we'll feature it in the next one. Again, if you guys are in Florida, be safe. If you're in the path of Irma, be safe. And hopefully I will be back on Wednesday with another video. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a fantastic day.